Hey there, everybody. Good morning from the CNN Center in Atlanta, Georgia. This is CNN Saturday morning. Well, again, to this whole oil spill, this could be a big weekend for it because we could get word of whether or not the latest attempt, this top kill method, actually is effective and is working, and they're going to be able to stop the flow of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. Something like this never happened before. So many people right now transfixed on a couple of underwater cameras. What's going on 5,000 feet below the surface of the water? We have multiple views now, live feeds coming into us, providing us different vantage points of that ruptured wellhead. Again, this is about a mile down below the surface of the water. We're talking about this massive oil spill, the ecological disaster. People can only speculate now, but we're going to be dealing with it for years and years down the road. BP's collaborative effort with federal officials to cap the leak is happening now. Let's tell you exactly what we know, which is that we are on day 40 plus now of this crisis. BP remains hopeful this top kill plan that is underway right now could work. They say it's a 60 or 70% chance that, in fact, it will work. And some positive signs so far, they say, that it is working. The timeline as to when we might know. They said, they told us yesterday that over the next 48 hours, so possibly today, even tomorrow. Meanwhile, cleanup crews in Louisiana are trying their best to just do what they can to save the coastal areas and the marshlands as well. Also, public hearings we told you about into the accident, the initial accident continue. This is the fourth day of those. They're happening in nearby Kenner, Louisiana. Employees of Transocean are testifying about how that Deepwater Horizon oil rig caught fire. Of course, we know it then went down, and this whole crisis started from there. And a lot of people along the U.S. Gulf Coast are referring to the ongoing oil spill in terms of Hurricane Katrina, and with the exception of death and human suffering, if you will. A lot of people saying they might be right in this assumption or the connections they're making. CNN's Reynolds Wolf has been live for us in New Orleans all morning. Reynolds, your third trip down to the Gulf region since this whole disaster started. Tell me how this one's different.
This one's a little bit different from just the anger of a lot of the people that I definitely can tell you that I met on the airplane last night flying in here. I mean, from the last trips, very first trip I had when this first took place was down in Venice, Louisiana. There was a sense of bewilderment. Was over on the Gulf Coast, over in Gulfport, Mississippi, a week or so ago. Again, a lot of frustration, but this time people are just sick of it. I mean, there has definitely been some anger towards the administration, some anger towards BP, and just some anger overall at just wanting this thing stopped. So hopefully we'll hear some good news later on today, perhaps tomorrow, that, again, the latest endeavor will finally stop this leak and the damage that's been causing. You know, we've been talking ad nauseum about the issues we have out in the open water, its effect on the wetlands, the effect on the beaches and the bayous, but you have to also think about what it's been doing to some of the bigger cities, for example, like New Orleans. We're lucky to have Michael Hecht with us. Michael is he calls this area home. What is your official title?
I'm a president and CEO of Greater New Orleans, Inc. We're the economic development agency for the whole southeast region of Louisiana.
So what better person to ask than Michael to just plain and simple, what effect has this oil spill had on your city?
Well, it's interesting. In some ways, this is actually a more complex event than Katrina. We've seen some immediate primary impacts, no question, on the fishermen. I mean, these are people that are living check to check, and this has been already devastating for many of those families. But in terms of secondary impacts on restaurants, we really haven't seen that yet. The product is still coming in because 3/4 of the waters are open. And in terms of tertiary impacts on hospitality, we did see a dip at first when people sat back and they wanted to see if it was going to be safe to come here. But today, if you talk to folks, the hotels are all booked up for the weekend, particularly on the coast. So the reality is that we have not seen that impact yet really on the hospitality industry. Now, what I'm concerned about today is this moratorium on the drilling out in the Gulf on the rigs. This is something that people have to understand. We've lived in a great symbiosis between fishing and the environment and oil for decades, and the truth is that there are tens of thousands of jobs out there in the Gulf. So nobody wants us to go forward until we know what happened and how it's safe so that this tragedy does not happen again. But people do have to understand that long term, if we were to go and simply shut down all exploration in the Gulf, it would have dire consequences for the local economy, dire consequences for national security. And so we're in a very difficult position of having to find a balance between safety and moving forward.
And in the meantime, though, when you talk about this balance, you talk about jobs. To keep the jobs going, to keep people employed, you have to have people still coming to the coast. And not just here in Louisiana, but obviously in places like Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. So you encourage people to still come down to the coast if you have the plans. Don't break them.
Oh, well, absolutely. Look, this place is still absolutely gorgeous. The seafood is still absolutely delicious. The coastline, I'm going camping with my family this weekend. It's still absolutely pristine in the vast majority of the places. And, of course, the irony is that you can actually come here now and get a great deal. So now will be a great time to come as an eco-tourist. Now will be a great time to come and visit and support this economy. We need you. We have to get the word out that we're dealing with some really unprecedented type of issues here. But for the casual visitor, it's still a wonderful place to come, and we really welcome everybody.
Okay, Mike, thanks so much for your help. I really do appreciate it. And, you know, TJ, it's something you've been saying all morning long, that obviously it is a disaster in the Gulf of Mexico. This is something that we're taking very seriously, and with certainly good reason. But even though we've got some of the waters that are shut down, 3/4 of them, federal waters, still open for fishing, the coastlines we mentioned, especially along the Emerald Coast or parts of Alabama and Florida, it's beautiful. It's spectacular. So if you have the opportunity to go down there, or if you already have plans, don't break them as of yet. They're handling it out in the Gulf, but beaches, for the most part, for the time being, just fine. What is it, TJ? I think 3 beaches right now in Louisiana affected by the heavy oil, but everything else is okay.
You're right, and the president made that point back-to-back days, Thursday and Friday. 3 beaches on the entire Gulf Coast, and those 3 are in the state where you are, in Louisiana. So people, everybody, during a time of disaster, want to find a way to help out. You want to take a trip to the Gulf Coast. They could certainly use it right now. Reynolds,
absolutely.
We appreciate that and appreciate hearing from that gentleman as well. Thanks so much. Of course, plenty of people in the Gulf Coast region, they are fed up right now.